Chapter 6188. Perhaps it was because he had been with Jun Hongcheng for a long time, so he didn't even feel the slightest bit ashamed to say such shameless things. There's no need to say any more. I've already decided on this matter. Brother Di Yujue raised his hand and stopped Xiao Yanlong's words. Don't call me that. We're no longer brothers. If you really cared about our family's many years of friendship, you wouldn't have attacked Beichen. If the Dark Sacred Assembly hadn't been established successfully this time, you and Jun Hongcheng would have crushed my entire family without hesitation. Do you think you would hesitate? Di Yujue stared at Xiao Yanlong. Before the latter could speak, his voice had already sounded. No, you definitely wouldn't. It's not that I haven't given you a chance. Don't you know that begging for mercy when you're at the end of your rope is the most meaningless? Don't say such useless words. It will only make me look down on you even more. Di Yujue's eyes were cold, and his resolute and fierce appearance no longer had the slightest bit of brotherly love from the past. No matter who it was, as long as they touched his reverse scale, they would die. He wouldn't let his family fall into a dangerous situation because of a plea. If it weren't for the fact that he wasn't decisive enough when dealing with the Jun family, there wouldn't have been so many twists and turns later. Xiao Yanlong stood in place in a daze. He didn't expect that he would get such an answer after throwing away his self-esteem to beg for mercy. A thick sense of humiliation began to linger in his heart. Di Yujue's every word pierced deeply into his heart. Okay, since you've made up your mind, then we can only meet on the battlefield. Xiao Yanlong nodded and put away his previous begging appearance. His expression once again returned to its usual deep state. Between us, there's only meeting on the battlefield. Today I won't kill you. The next time we meet, you'll die by my hands. Di Yujue stared at Xiao Yanlong, and the scene of them meeting for the first time when they were young flashed in his mind. Now, it really felt like a lifetime ago. Xiao Yanlong's body trembled, and his leaving footsteps paused slightly. Then he took another step and firmly left. The 3-day agreement arrived in the blink of an eye. During these 3 days, the cultivators of the Di family, the Lin family, and the Dark Sacred Congregation were all rushing to the Jun family's residence. It was only on the last day that Di Beichen and the others left with Di Yujue and the others. Beichen, I heard that the cultivators of the Jun family seemed to have realized what was going to happen. That's why the Xiao family has been sending cultivators to meet up with them. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. The cultivators of the Dark Sacred Assembly were all over the upper realm. Now they were very well informed. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Xiao Yanlong came to see father first. Although I don't know what they talked about, Xiao Yanlong should have already known about this at that time. So today's battle will be an all-out attack from both sides. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed faintly. She had never been to the Jun family before. She didn't expect to see such a scene on her first visit. Today, rivers of blood were destined to flow. The eyes of everyone present shone with a dazzling light. After so many years of enduring, they were finally going to have a good fight. In order to remove the Jun family from the upper realm, they had been preparing for too long. After the Bailey family learned about this situation, they also came. Chapter 6189. Jun family. Jun Hongcheng stood at the back of the mountain. A gentle breeze blew, lifting up a corner of his clothes. Xiao Yanlong stood beside him, and both of their faces were indescribably dignified. If I'm not wrong, they should start taking action today. Jun Hongcheng slowly said. Since he became the head of the family, he had always hoped that one day he would be able to kill the Di family. But he didn't expect that this scene would actually happen to him. It wasn't the Di family that was facing extermination, but them. Xiao Yanlong's expression was complicated. Ever since he talked with Di Yujue, his mood became even more complicated. They had to fight with their backs to the wall. They had no way out. If they couldn't withstand it today, the two families would be completely finished. Let's go down. Everyone is waiting for us. Jun Hongcheng nodded slightly. Say Wu and the others have safely left, right? Don't worry. I have already arranged for them to leave. The place they found is very hidden. As long as they live in anonymity, they shouldn't be discovered. Xiao Yanlong's expression had a trace of gentleness. As long as Su Dong and the others were safe and sound, It could be considered as settling one of their worries. After Bewitching and the others arrived, the cultivators who had arrived earlier rushed out and joined the team. In the blink of an eye, the team continued to expand, and finally, the momentum of an army was monstrous. After the cultivators of Junyang City saw the D family and the Lin family's teams gather, their faces were filled with fear. I said that there were too many cultivators here in the past 2 days. I didn't understand at first, but now it seems that the D family is preparing to attack the Jun family. A cultivator couldn't help but exclaim. The hatred between the two families had lasted for too many years, and everyone had almost become accustomed to it. However, no one thought that there would be such a day. My God, then won't a war break out in the Jun family today? Perhaps after today, the Jun family will no longer exist? Everyone looked at each other in dismay. This sudden situation was too terrifying. No one had expected such a thing to happen. This unexpected feeling made their hearts tremble. For a moment, they didn't know what to do. Some cultivators had already started contacting their families. Based on this situation, they would not rest until one of them was dead. In order to avoid being implicated, it would be safer for them to leave Junyang City as soon as possible. Otherwise, once they were affected by the flames of war between the two families, they wouldn't even have a place to cry. Diyujua looked at the group of cultivators behind him. His dignified and handsome face was unprecedentedly serious. He stared at the familiar faces in front of him and spoke clearly into everyone's ears. The Jun family has been plotting against us all these years. I don't know how many cultivators have died in their schemes. For the sake of avenging the fallen cultivators, and for the sake of preventing the future descendants of the clan from having to face this kind of trouble, we must completely remove this malignant tumor today. Diyujua's words were very simple, without any unnecessary embellishments. But it was these simple words that shocked everyone, and the blood in their bodies was instantly ignited. They knew very well how uncomfortable it was to be on guard all these years. As long as they could completely solve this problem, everything would be worth it. Remove this malignant tumor. Destroy the Jun family. Chapter 6190. The teams of the D family, Lin family, and the Dark Sacred Assembly walked in the direction of the Jun family. The cultivators of the entire Junyang City scattered like birds and beasts, rushing to pass the news. They really came. Hearing the news from his subordinates, Jun Hongcheng looked awe-inspiring. There was no emotional fluctuation on his calm face, but everyone knew that the family master was very uncomfortable in his heart. Boom! With a shocking explosion, the Jun family's door was blown open directly. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the destructive power of her bomb, and her eyes showed satisfaction. Ever since she came to the upper realm, she had rarely used explosives. This was because everyone was very strong, and the power of explosives might not be able to achieve good results. However, it was quite suitable to blow up other things. When the surrounding cultivators saw Bailey Hongzhuang taking out the explosives, they were a little puzzled. They didn't understand what she was going to do. Explosives were rare in the upper realm. Except for some low-level people who might use them to build houses, they didn't use them at all, because the power of explosives was too small for them. However, when everyone saw that Bailey Hongzhuang threw an explosive and blew up the Jun family's door directly, their eyes showed surprise. This explosive seems to be a little different from the explosives in their impression. Sure enough, everything that second cousin-in-law takes out is different. Lin Yi was very calm. She felt that a lot of common sense was useless on Bailey Hongzhuang, because the things in their impression were always different from the things that Hongzhuang took out. Diyujua's eyes also lit up after noticing the power of this explosive. Although this power was not enough for them now, it was still useful for cultivators with slightly lower cultivation. If they brought a few of these explosives when they went out for training, wouldn't it be a talisman? Not only Diyujua, but Di Lin Xian and Lin Wenlan also had the same idea in their minds. When they returned, they had to bring up this idea. After all, these young cultivators were the future mainstays of the family. After the door was blown open, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could clearly see the Jun family's appearance. The structure of the Jun family was very similar to that of the D family. In fact, the structure of the Jun family was very similar to that of the Di family. It was only due to the different preferences of the families that the styles differed. However, after everyone blew the door open, they found that the cultivators from the Jun family and the Xiao family were all holding weapons in their hands, ready to fight. Clearly, the other party already knew of their actions and was prepared to fight to the death. The atmosphere instantly became tense. Both teams stared at each other without blinking. Killing intent surged between the two sides. Everyone only had one thought in their hearts, and that was to kill each other. Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong's figures flashed and appeared in front of the group. Their gazes landed on Di Yujue and the others. "We meet again." Di Yujue sneered at the corner of his lips, looking at the two with ridicule. Jun Hongcheng stared at Di Yujue and the team behind him. His face was gloomy and dignified. "I didn't expect. We are really going to fight." Chapter 6191. Jun Hongcheng looked at the calm Di Yujue, his heart filled with mixed feelings. He had been looking forward to the day when the two sides would meet on the battlefield. He wanted to make a comeback and free himself from the relationship between the three great families that had always been suppressed. He wanted to surpass the Di family and become the family with the most authority. However, he never thought that the Di family would attack them in the end. What he didn't expect was that even after he roped in the Xiao family, they were still at an absolute disadvantage. "Di Yujue, as long as you don't fight today, I can guarantee that I will never be your enemy in the future." After a long while, Jun Hongcheng slowly said this sentence. Looking at the cultivators of the family, he couldn't help but feel distressed. He couldn't bear to see them die. Hearing this, Di Yujue chuckled, his eyes filled with mockery. "Haven't you always done this before? On the surface, you've never been our enemy, but behind our backs, you've always schemed against us. Thanks to you, many terrible things have happened to our family over the years." Jun Hongcheng was silent. "I know that what happened before was my fault. Now, I can swear that the Di family will never have any conflicts with the Jun family, whether it's on the surface or in the dark. Don't put on this show. It's useless to me." Di Yujue didn't give Jun Hongcheng any more time to talk. He was tired of hearing these words. Just like what Xiao Yanlong said to him, it was meaningless to him, who had already made up his mind. His cold and resolute voice directly interrupted Jun Hongcheng's words. His expression was very ugly, but it couldn't change anything. "Even if I use the secret key in exchange," Jun Hongcheng took out his last trump card. "You should know how important this is to your family." I said I don't care. Di Yujue's lips curled into a cold smile. "It's because I believed your nonsense that the Di family was almost wiped out. Although the secret key has been passed down for a long time, without you, the Di family would have developed very well." Jun Hongcheng's complexion turned ashen. He regretted what he had done on the day the Dark Sacred Assembly was established even more. Di Yujue's words made him understand that there was no turning back. His gaze gradually became malicious and ruthless. "In that case, let's fight." Jun Hongcheng glared at Di Yujue. "Do you really think that the Di family is invincible? If we really fight, you will know that we are not easy to deal with. A bone is just a bone. No matter how hard it is to chew, it will be chewed up sooner or later," Di Yujue said calmly. Jun Hongcheng coldly snorted and quietly exchanged glances with Xiao Yanlong. Both of them nodded at the same time. "Attack. Chase them all out." The battle began at this moment. The elders of the Jun family and the Xiao family came out in full force. The elders of the Di family and the Lin family also rushed forward. After the family heads and elders began to fight, a group of cultivators also rushed forward, unwilling to be outdone. They had been waiting for this battle for too long. With so many people's elemental energy surging together, even the elemental energy in the air seemed to be affected. The hatred between the three families had accumulated for too many years. Whether it was the young cultivators or the elders, their killing intent towards each other had never disappeared. Chapter 6192. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure moved and directly rushed into the battle. She also didn't have any good feelings towards these two families. In just a few years, she had been schemed against by these two families many times. Now that she had the chance, she naturally wouldn't show mercy. Xiao He and Xiao Bai enlarged their bodies and sent a few cultivators flying with a punch. On the day the Dark Sacred Assembly was established, these guys had thought of ways to slaughter the cultivators of the D family and the Lin family. Every dog has its day. Now it was finally their turn. Linger transformed into a dragon once again. With a sweep of her dragon tail, a large number of cultivators were sent flying, as if they had been hit by a heavy blow. Boom! 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 The power of the divine dragon tail whip was completely unleashed. Linger still remembered the grudge from last time. How could she not take revenge this time? Unlike last time, Junhong Chung and the others couldn't deal with them at all. Just dealing with Du Jue and the others' attacks was already very difficult. They could only watch helplessly as their own cultivators were massacred. No matter how anxious they were, they couldn't do anything. Xiren, Shangguan Yingying, Mo Yunjue, and Ao Lingxiao were all killing in all directions. What goes around comes around. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, they could only be crushed if they weren't strong enough. If they didn't have the power to protect themselves, they would have already died. They could only leave the upper realm and head to the immortal region with peace of mind if these guys completely disappeared from this world. Otherwise, they would have to deal with these poisonous snakes all the time. No one knew when they would be bitten. The momentum was monstrous. The sound of killing filled the sky, mixed with screams and cries of alarm. The Jun family's buildings collapsed one after another. In just a short time, the Jun family's buildings near the battle circle had become a pile of ruins. The thick smell of blood spread in the air. The ground was gradually dyed red with blood. Everyone's body was stained with blood. They couldn't tell if it was their opponents or their own blood. However, the burning determination in everyone's eyes never changed. Bewitching did not immediately join the battle. Instead, he began to summon skeletons again. When he first summoned it, he wasn't too familiar with it. After using it twice, he realized that he had become more familiar with it. Thinking about it, the more he used it in the future, the faster his summoning speed would become. Most importantly, with the help of these skeletons, the clan's casualties would be greatly reduced. Every single person was extremely precious to them. Although it was inevitable that some would fall in battle, it was also good to minimize the casualties. Huang Futing led a group of dark cultivators into the battle as well. These cultivators wanted to avenge the cultivators who died that day. Jun Hongqing's heart tightened when he saw Bewitching summoning the skeleton army again. In fact, this was what he was most worried about. In the next moment, he rushed directly towards Bewitching. As long as the skeleton army could not be summoned, everything was still possible. After seeing Jun Hongqing's actions, Du Jue's figure flashed and directly blocked the latter's path. Jun Hongqing, with me here, you can't get close to Beichen. Jun Hongqing's face was gloomy. I'm going to kill you. Unfortunately, you still don't have the strength. Du Jue's eyes were full of disdain. If President Liu hadn't appeared that day, you would have died at my hands. Chapter 6193. Du Jue's figure flashed. His movements were as fast as lightning, and a terrifying attack directly attacked Jun Hongqing. Bang! Their fists collided, and both of them retreated 100 meters. The tyrannical energy burst out, and the buildings on the side collapsed. Jun Hongqing's expression was extremely ugly. He knew very well that if they really fought, he was indeed no match for Du Jue. It was indeed too difficult for him to bypass Du Jue and stop Bewitching. Looking around, the cultivators of the Jun and Xiao family were almost all entangled with their opponents. Although each had their own advantages and disadvantages, it was obviously extremely difficult for them to clone themselves. Damn it! Jun Hongqing cursed inwardly. Even though he was depressed to the extreme, he was powerless to change all of this. With his mind in chaos, Jun Hongqing's combat strength was also affected. Du Jue's attack landed fiercely on Jun Hongqing's weak spot. Bang! A heavy blow landed on Jun Hongqing's body. Jun Hongqing's figure was quickly sent flying. He stabilized his body in midair and stopped. However, from his flushed face, one could tell that this attack had made him very uncomfortable. After seeing that Jun Hongqing was injured, Xiao Yanlong also took advantage of the situation and rushed to Jun Hongcheng's side. How are you? They absolutely could not fall now. Once the family head fell, their morale would be greatly affected, and they would be defeated in a short period of time. Even if today's ending could not be changed, at least they could not let the Di family and Lin family have an easy time. Jun Hongcheng shook his head. I'm fine. You must hold on. Xiao Yanlong's tone was unprecedentedly serious. I understand, Jun Hongcheng replied. His gaze quietly turned around, and he transmitted his voice. We can't continue like this. We have to think of a way. Otherwise, failure is only a matter of time. Xiao Yanlong's face darkened. I know the current situation, but other than that, we have no other way. As long as we capture an important person and threaten them, we might be able to change everything. Jun Hongcheng narrowed his eyes. The Di family was indeed united. It was a good thing that they valued loyalty, but in a way, it was also a fatal weakness. As long as they could capture an important person, they could take the opportunity to blackmail the other party. Even if they couldn't change the ending, they could at least restrain the Di family. As Jun Hongcheng's voice fell, Xiao Yanlong also understood what he meant. With a thought, he had already thought of their goal. Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's position in Di Beichen's heart was very important. After all the things that had happened during this period of time, they were well aware of it. Most importantly, once Bailey Hongzhuang was captured, Di Beichen would definitely be distracted, and he might not be able to summon these skeletons again. Killing two birds with one stone. This was definitely an excellent opportunity. The two of them had the same idea, and both of them had locked their target on Bailey Hongzhuang. Di Yujue did not expect the two of them to have come up with a plan in such a short time. However, he did not give the two of them any more time to communicate, and his figure charged forward once again. To catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. As long as these two fellows were subdued, the remaining cultivators from the two families would be nothing more than a bunch of loose sand. They would not be able to do anything at all. Chapter 6194. After Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong had made their decision, they no longer hesitated. They were still at a disadvantage in the current situation. After all, the other party had more people than them. If they could seize the opportunity to control Bailey Hongzhuang and grab hold of the other party's weakness, there was still a possibility of turning the tables. After Lin Wenlan had closed the distance between them, he immediately attacked. Xiao Yanlong continued to dodge and quickly widened the distance between the two of them. He was unwilling to face him head-on. Damn it, this fellow is like a loach. He's too hard to catch. Lin Wenlan cursed silently. He had wanted to subdue Xiao Yanlong as soon as possible, so that he could get twice the result with half the effort. He never thought that it would be so troublesome. Xiao Yanlong tried his best to shake Lin Wenlan off by a certain distance before his figure flashed and charged directly towards Bailey Hongzhuang's direction. The sudden turn of events had exceeded everyone's expectations. Jun Hongcheng had also charged out at the same time. Clearly, the two of them had made up their minds to capture Bailey Hongzhuang. Hongzhuang, watch out! Di Yujue hurriedly reminded her when he saw this. He had already increased his speed to the maximum, but he was still unable to catch up. Hearing Di Yujue's cry, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes shifted slightly. She then noticed that Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng were charging towards her from two different directions. Most importantly, the two masters' cultivation levels were higher than hers. They had used their auras to lock onto her as they charged towards her. Under such circumstances, it was very difficult for her to even move her body. It would be too difficult for her to take advantage of the situation and escape. Di Yujue and the rest explained as their hearts sank. Bailey Hongzhuang was too important to them. Once Bailey Hongzhuang was under their control, they could guess what kind of conditions Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng would propose. That kind of situation would be terrible. As they got closer and closer to Bailey Hongzhuang, the smile in Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng's eyes continued to widen. As long as they seized this opportunity, they could use it to threaten Di Yujue and even Di Beichen. With Di Beichen's feelings for Bailey Hongzhuang, it was not impossible for him to make such a decision. Bailey Yanche and the rest rushed over immediately, but they were too late to make it in time. In the next moment, Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng arrived at Bailey Hongzhuang's location almost at the same time. Bang! Jun Hongcheng directly attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. However, just as Jun Hongcheng was about to throw his punch, he suddenly realized that his fist seemed to have landed on thin air. He had not hit Bailey Hongzhuang at all. The feeling of landing a punch on thin air was very uncomfortable. However, Jun Hongcheng was not in the mood to think about all this at this moment. He was more curious about where Bailey Hongzhuang had gone. Xiao Yanlong was equally shocked. Bailey Hongzhuang had clearly been here just a second ago, and he had locked onto Bailey Hongzhuang's aura. However, in that short moment, he realized that Bailey Hongzhuang's aura had disappeared. How could this be? Di Yujue and Lin Wenlan's faces were filled with astonishment as well. At that moment, they had even thought about how they would deal with the situation once Bailey Hongzhuang had been captured. However, she had actually disappeared into thin air. Chapter 6195. Just as Jun Hongcheng was in a daze, Di Yujue's figure followed closely behind him. Bang! A ferocious attack flew fiercely towards Jun Hongcheng. Di Yujue was no longer careless, and would not give Jun Hongcheng any chance to escape. Bang bang bang! Their attacks were as fast as lightning. Many cultivators around them were sent flying by the impact of their attacks. Even the cultivators who were fighting did not dare to stay on the spot when they saw this scene. Their figures flashed and they quickly left. Lin Wenlan's movements were not slow either. Just as Di Yujue and Lin Wenlan arrived, Bailey Hongzhuang's figure once again appeared before everyone's eyes. What's going on? Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's sudden appearance, the cultivators from the four great families' eyes were filled with confusion. Regardless of whether it was her disappearance earlier or her reappearance now, they could not understand how Bailey Hongzhuang had managed to do it. Bailey Hongzhuang heaved a sigh of relief. It was a good thing that her reaction was fast enough. When she realized that her aura had been locked onto, and she was unable to move, she immediately entered the chaos ring with a single thought. Her aura had been locked onto and her body was indeed unable to move. However, her mental energy was not too affected, so she could still enter the chaos ring with ease. She only needed this short amount of time to do everything. With a single movement, Bailey Hongzhuang retreated from the master's battle circle. Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong watched Bailey Hongzhuang's departing figure. Their hearts were filled with vexation and helplessness at the same time. This Bailey Hongzhuang really could not be judged using common sense. The battle between the two sides continued. After this incident, the battle between the two sides became even more intense. In the distance, some cultivators from Junyang City quietly observed the battle. After seeing the scene of blood flowing like a river, everyone's hearts were filled with endless emotions. A family that had stood tall in the upper realm for so many years was now facing a disaster. The world was unpredictable, and no one could predict the outcome. Hongzhuang, are you all right? Di Beichen's figure flashed, and he came to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. A smile appeared on Bailey Hongzhuang's face. I'm fine. You've succeeded in summoning? Yes. Di Beichen nodded. As the number of summons increased, my summoning speed gradually increased. Practice makes perfect. Now everyone can relax a little. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved slightly. The skeleton army's battle prowess couldn't be underestimated. Although the skeleton's army, the battles, they had already had the upper hand. Now the appearance of the skeleton army, the battle's end. Tap tap tap. The skeleton army's speed was very fast. Not long after Di Beichen's successful summoning, they had already appeared in a grandiose manner. Seeing the appearance of the skeleton army, the faces of Jun Hongcheng and the others turned extremely ugly. Even though this scene was within their expectations, they still felt an indescribable pain when it appeared. This was because these skeletons were very lethal. Boom! With a collision of energy, Jun Hongcheng's figure was directly sent flying. He crashed heavily on the ground, creating a huge crater. Chapter 6196. Cough cough. Jun Hongcheng fell into the deep pit. The sharp pain in his body and the blood that seeped out of his mouth made him cough uncontrollably. He coughed up blood clots. Up until now, although he had attacked Du Jue. The latter's strength was stronger than his, and his injuries were much more serious. Junhongcheng, go to hell! Du Jue's eyes were extremely cold, and a murderous intent spread from his heart. After waiting for so long, this day had finally come. He would definitely not show mercy. Seeing Du Jue's fist rapidly approaching, Junhongcheng's pupils shrank, and he subconsciously prepared to run away. However, right at the instant that he fled, Du Jue's fist struck out once more, and it directly blasted Junhongcheng's figure out of the deep pit. Puffed! After being hit by Du Jue's all-out attack again, Junhongcheng spat out a mouthful of blood. His face instantly turned pale, and his aura quickly withered. Family head. The cultivators of the Jun family exclaimed when they saw that Junhongcheng was injured, and their eyes were full of anxiety. Du Jue, you. Junhongcheng looked at Du Jue, who was walking toward him step by step, and his face was full of horror. However, Du Jue's expression was extremely cold, and he did not pay attention to him at all. The fist came again, and Junhongcheng quickly moved backward, but this speed was useless. Bang! A tyrannical force burst out. Junhongcheng closed his eyes. He knew that he could not escape, but the expected pain did not appear. He opened his eyes and found that the Great Elder was in front of him. Great Elder! Junhongcheng's pupils shrank, and he looked at Jun Xianxiao nervously. Jun Xianxiao stood in front of Junhongcheng at the last moment. He was so anxious that he didn't have time to defend himself. He could only take the blow head-on. Family head, it's my fault. Jun Xuanxiao's eyes were red, and he looked at Junhongcheng apologetically. He was the one who made many mistakes in the past. If he had not been so narrow-minded, many things would not have developed to this point. Junhongcheng's eyes were also red. In the entire family, the Great Elder was the one who had the best relationship with him. He never thought that one day they would fall into such a situation. Du Jue looked at the two people in front of him, but there was no sympathy in his eyes. These two heinous sinners should have died long ago. Qi. A sharp sword directly into Jun Xuanxiao's body. Jun Xuanxiao's body twitched, and his face showed extreme pain. However, he soon lost consciousness. Jun Xianxiao is dead. You're next. Du Jue looked at Junhongcheng, his eyes as cold as ice. Junhongcheng stared at Du Jue, his eyes full of unwillingness. Du Jue, I admit that I have lost this time. However, a temporary victory does not mean that it will last forever. As long as the bloodline of the Jun family still exists in this world, sooner or later, the entire D family will be destroyed. Hearing this, Du Jue chuckled. I know that you have already sent people to take some of the young cultivators of the family away. However, do you think that I don't know about these arrangements? As soon as he said this, Junhongcheng was slightly stunned. His calm face suddenly changed. What did you do to them? Chapter 6197. As Du Jue's voice fell, Junhongcheng's face instantly turned pale. It was as if someone had taken away his last life-saving straw. He lost his mental support and became helpless and desperate. You found them? Junhongcheng couldn't believe it. He didn't want to believe it. After sensing that such a dangerous situation would happen, he had already planned to let some cultivators with potential leave. Even if the Jun family was finished, as long as the bloodline was still there, they might be able to recover after many years. This kind of thing had happened in the upper realm before. However, he didn't expect that Du Jue would be able to find them. I've been fighting with you for so many years. If I didn't have some understanding of your tricks, then I'd be too stupid. Du Jue chuckled and said. From the moment he decided to deal with the Jun family, he had the idea of catching them all in one fell swoop. How could he let the Jun family keep any cultivators with potential? Just like how Junhongcheng worked hard to prepare for all of this, he also worked hard to make plans for the D family. Junhongcheng stared at Du Jue in a daze. He was surrounded by a thick sense of despair. He had become the sinner of the Jun family. How was he going to face the ancestors of the Jun family in the underworld now? If you kill me, you'll never find the secret inheritance key. I don't need it anymore. Du Jue's expression was indifferent. The sharp sword in his hand suddenly pierced out. Qi. The sharp sword pierced Junhongcheng's heart, Pfft! Without showing any mercy, Diyujue increased the strength in his hand and directly pierced Junhong Cheng's body. With this sword, he was avenging Beichen and the many cultivators of the Di family who had fallen. From today onwards, the Jun family would be completely removed from the upper realm. Family head. The moment they saw Junhong Cheng fall, all the cultivators of the Jun family shouted at the top of their lungs with red eyes. The head of the family had always been the pillar of the family. Now that this pillar had collapsed, the entire Jun family would no longer exist. When Xiao Yanlong saw Junhong Cheng fall, a trace of sorrow appeared in his eyes. This scene still happened in the end, and it happened in such a way that it made people feel so uncomfortable. Compared to the pain of the Jun family's cultivators, the cultivators of the Di family and the Lin family were cheering, their faces full of excitement. Kill! Charge! The Di family's morale was high. Their skeleton army acted as the vanguard, killing anyone who stood in their way. No one could stop them. With the death of Junhong Cheng and Jun Xianxiao, Di Linxian had no more opponents. With his strength, it was easy for him to deal with ordinary cultivators. Within a short period of time, the cultivators of the Jun family and the Xiao family were utterly defeated. That day was soaked in blood. The entire Jun family was in a terrible situation, and blood flowed like a river. The tragic atmosphere spread. Two great families with infinite glory declined just like that, and were completely removed from the upper realm. From now on, everyone would only remember that there had been two great families like this, but they had completely disappeared overnight. Diyujue was also very tolerant of the cultivators who came to participate in the battle. As a reward, all the cultivators who found treasures would belong to them. These treasures were their spoils of war. All the cultivators couldn't help but cheer when they heard this. As a great family, the Jun family was extremely rich in both cultivation resources and wealth. Chapter 6198. Not only the cultivators from the Di family and Lin family, but many cultivators from the Dark Sanctuary were also in the same situation. The group of dark cultivators were initially a little embarrassed, but after seeing Di Beichen nod his head in agreement, everyone's face was filled with joy. To them, who were mostly grassroots, these cultivation resources were simply too important. After the battle ended, Diyujue and the rest did not stop. Although the Jun family and the Xiao family's troops had been dealt with, they still needed to make a trip to the Piercing Wind City. Father, I'll go with you. After knowing Diyujue's plan, Di Beichen immediately followed. After leaving a small group of cultivators to collect the spoils of war in the Jun family, the rest of the cultivators all headed to the Piercing Wind City. That place was also filled with treasures. The cultivators of Yeyang City watched as Diyujue and his group left in a grandiose manner. The thick smell of blood mixed with surging killing intent spread out from their bodies. Their cold eyes made people not dare to look at them directly. The Jun family and Xiao family are completely finished this time. From now on, they will be removed from the upper realm. The rise of the Di clan is simply too fast. Right now, there's no one who can stop them. A starving camel is still bigger than a horse. The Jun family has a lot of treasures. I'm really envious just looking at them. What's the use of being envious? We have to wait until the Di family's troops have all left before we can go and see if there are any treasures that we have missed. If we run in now, we will definitely die. Everyone looked at each other and sighed in their hearts. Now, whoever dared to offend the Di family would be seeking their own death. I'm really envious of the dark cultivators now. A cultivator sighed faintly, causing everyone to feel the same way. In the past, the dark cultivators were despised by everyone. But now, with the support of the Di family, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang working together, the dark cultivators' prestige was much higher than other cultivators. Piercing Wind City. When Di Beichen and his entourage arrived, everyone in the Piercing Wind City was instantly attracted to them. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. After the cultivators of the Xiao clan poured out, everyone understood what was going to happen. When everyone saw the Di family's team appear here, they understood the result. Most importantly, the thick smell of blood wafted in the air. It had already spread from the moment they appeared. and there was no way to hide it. Even though everyone knew that the D family now had the upper hand, they still found it hard to believe that the Xiao family and the Jun family would be wiped out just like that. Is the Xiao family really going to be finished? In my opinion, it's most likely over. In just a few years, the two families have changed so much. The Xiao family, after Bailey Hongzhuang threw out 2 sets of explosives, the door of the Xiao family was directly blown open. The Xiao family only left a small number of cultivators in the family. After hearing the commotion outside the door, the remaining cultivators shuddered as their faces turned pale and ugly. They had been living in torment for the entire day, because they could not see the situation in the Jun family. They could only passively wait for the result. This feeling was really devastating. After seeing the D family's team, everyone's heart thumped as they had already expected this cruel reality. Chapter 6199. Following Du Jue's words, the cultivators from the D family immediately charged forward. The remaining cultivators from the Xiao family had panicked when they saw the D family's team appear. Furthermore, the remaining cultivators were not strong cultivators in the first place. All the strong cultivators had already gone to the Jun family's residence. Therefore, under such circumstances, it was too easy for everyone to deal with this. In the blink of an eye, the cultivators had easily dealt with this matter. What was left was for everyone to search for the spoils of war. Bailey Hongzhuang was not in a hurry to search. She did not care about the spoils of war the most. What she cared about was the whereabouts of the secret inheritance key. Bewitching, do you think it's possible that the secret inheritance key is still here? Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Bewitching. The world was so big, they could not determine where Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng had hidden the secret inheritance key. Perhaps they felt that the most dangerous place was the safest place, so they hid the secret inheritance key in an inconspicuous corner of their respective family. Or perhaps they had decided to make the secret inheritance key disappear, so they threw it in a place that no one would expect. Bewitching had a thoughtful look on his face. No one can understand the thoughts of these 2 old foxes, but we can look for it. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Now that Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong were both dead, no one knew where the secret inheritance key was. Looking for it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. However, they would not give up until they tried. Du Jue looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching's serious expressions, and a smile appeared on his face. These 2 little fellows really did not have any utilitarian thoughts, and had always been thinking for their family. It was really rare. For 3 consecutive days, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching searched around the Xiao family's residence. Bai Li Yanche and the others were also helping to search. Their spiritual energy penetrated the ground, unwilling to let go of any possibility. However, no one gained anything. In my opinion, Xiao Yanlong and the others are so cunning. I'm afraid that they have hidden the secret key very far away. Shengguan Yingying frowned. Although the D family could give up on the land of heritage, they all knew how beneficial it would be to the D family. If he were to give up just like that, he would be somewhat unwilling. These 2 old fellows are really annoying, but we can't do anything about it. When Xiren sighed, it wasn't just the Xiao family. Many cultivators from the Jun family were also searching. No one was willing to give up. For 7 whole days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others turned the Xiao residence upside down, but still couldn't find the secret key. They could only choose to give up and embark on their return journey. The Piercing Wind City was the place where the headquarters of the Radiant Sacred Assembly was located. It was also the city closest to the Xiao family. This once bustling place gradually became desolate following the fall of the Xiao clan. Many cultivators left one after another, and even some businessmen chose to go to other places. The Piercing Wind City gradually became a dead city. Junyang City was also in the same situation. But this was a story for later. After returning to the D family, the entire family began to celebrate. This time, they had achieved a complete victory. Chapter 6200. In the D family's meeting hall, the heads of the D family and the Lin family, as well as the various elders, and even the outstanding younger generation, were all gathered here at this moment. The atmosphere was different from the usual. At this moment, the entire meeting hall was filled with laughter. Everyone's expressions were relaxed, and they were in a good mood. For so many years, because they were constantly on guard against the other party's tricks, everyone's hearts had always been like a rock hanging in the air. Now that the rock had been put down, their mood was unprecedentedly relaxed. Although we won a great victory this time, we still missed a problem. After everyone's laughter, Dyujua's voice rang out. Hearing this, everyone turned their eyes and looked at Dyujua in confusion. Now, other than not being able to find the secret key to the land of inheritance, what other problem did they miss? The Jun family and the Xiao family both sent out their cultivators with potential at the first moment. Although I had already sent people to stop them at the first moment, and the Jun family's team was indeed destroyed, there were still people from the Xiao family who escaped. Was it Xiao Souo? Xiao Souo's figure instantly appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. This woman had fought with her for so long, but she had to admit that she was also a person with great luck. Dyujua nodded. Not only Xiao Souo, but also Xiao Sudong. Everyone frowned slightly. Everyone was disgusted with Xiao Souo from the bottom of their hearts. This woman was a troublemaker. No matter where she was, she could always cause some trouble. If it wasn't for Xiao Souo, their relationship with the Xiao family would not have fallen to such a state. If I'm not wrong, Xiao Souo and Xiao Sudong were most likely taken away by Shuyu, right? Di Linxuan's eyes were deep, and no emotions could be seen on his calm face. This time, in order to eliminate the root of the problem, the team they sent out this time was not weak. Under such circumstances, the other party could still escape. Other than Shuyu, there was probably no one else who could do it. That's right, it was done by Shuyu. Dyujua's eyes turned gloomy. As Xiao Souo's master, it's not strange for Shuyu to take action when Xiao Souo is threatened. However, with Shuyu's protection, it will be very difficult for us to deal with them. Shuyu, the #1 expert of the upper realm. Although the D family's current strength was not to be underestimated, if they were to face Shuyu directly, they would definitely suffer great losses. Let's not rush into this matter for now. Shuyu only chose to protect Xiao Souo and the others, and did not directly fight with us. This proves that he is somewhat wary of us. From another point of view, this is also a sign that he is not willing to be our enemy. If we take the initiative to look for trouble under such circumstances, I'm afraid we'll directly anger him. Di Linxuan's expression was solemn. Although a cultivator's strength was not very useful, when a cultivator's strength reached a certain level, their influence would not be small. As long as Shuyu was willing to join a force, it was likely that the other party would be willing to offend them for the sake of such an expert. Although the D family and the Lin family had won the battle, they had also suffered great losses. It would take some time for them to recover. Sigh, I never thought that Shuyu would protect them so much. The great elder sighed. This caused them to feel a trace of regret in their hearts. Based on Xiao Souo's personality, we'll meet again sooner or later. Chapter 6201. Xiao Souo would definitely not remain calm after knowing that her family had fallen into such a situation. Even if she did not have the strength to contend against them, she would not sit still and do nothing. It was only a matter of time before they clashed. When Dyujua saw that everyone's mood was affected by this matter, he could not help but smile and said, "The reason why I mentioned this matter is to remind everyone. However, you don't have to take it to heart. Only 2 people from the Xiao family are left. They are not a threat to us." Everyone nodded, and a smile appeared on their faces once again. Suddenly Lin Wenlan's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. His gaze was filled with cordiality and curiosity. "Hongzhuang, I saw that the explosives you used a few days ago were quite powerful. Did you make them yourself?" "That's right. The explosives are indeed very powerful. The explosives I have seen on a daily basis are not as powerful as this." Dilin Xian also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang curiously. At that time, he wanted to wait until this matter was over before asking Hongzhuang about the explosives. When young cultivators went out to gain experience, their safety was always a concern. However, The price of having a trump card for them was too high. It was impossible to popularize it. If there was a method to make explosives, the cost should not be high. Moreover, everyone could bring a few with them. Who knows, it might be effective. Seeing the two family heads asking about this matter at the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned. She immediately smiled and said, "That's right. I made these explosives myself. I didn't expect you to have some research in this area." Lin Wenlan had an interested look on his face. He realized that Hongzhuang was really involved in many aspects. "Actually, these explosives have always been researched by my master's wife. If grandfather and maternal grandfather are interested, I can ask my master's wife to talk about it." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and said. When Nangong Wu heard everyone mention explosives, she was very interested. One must know that she had always liked to research these things. Later, when Hongzhuang came to Limitless Palace, the two of them researched together. However, under Bailey Hongzhuang's research, the power of the explosives became even stronger. Although she had spent most of her time on cultivation, after coming to the upper realm, she would still study it from time to time in her free time. She did not expect Hongzhuang to suddenly change the topic to her. "Your teacher's wife?" Lin Wenlan raised her eyebrows and asked in surprise. "That's right." Bailey Hongzhuang stood up and walked to Nangong Wu's side. "My master's wife has always been very interested in the study of explosives. The reason why I dabbled in explosives is because I learned from her. So it's Miss Nangong." Diyujua smiled. Nangong Wu felt a little uneasy when she was suddenly stared at by so many people. Hongzhuang is more accomplished in this area than I am. "Master's wife, you are too modest." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. She had already vaguely guessed the thoughts of the two family heads. This task was undoubtedly the most suitable one for her. "Miss Nangong, we feel that the power of these explosives is not bad. If we can make more of them, and give them to the younger cultivators, they will have more protection when they go out to train. I wonder if Miss Nangong can help us with this?" Di Linxian asked gently. Chapter 6202. Although this matter came unexpectedly, Nangong Wu, who had a cheerful personality, quickly accepted it after a short period of restraint. "Don't worry, leave this matter to me." Nangong Wu was full of smiles. She was most interested in the matter of explosives. In fact, she had been itching to do this for a while, but because she was in the D family, she was too embarrassed to do this research, and she didn't have a place to test it. Now that this task was handed over to her, she couldn't be happier. Yu Linfeng looked at Nangong Wu's happy appearance, and his eyes were full of love. In the past, when they were in the Limitless Palace, Nangong Wu had always been free to do whatever she wanted. Now it was very rare for her to be able to cultivate quietly in the D family for so long. Seeing Nangong Wu agree so readily, the smiles of Di Linxian and the others became more and more brilliant. "Miss Nangong is really straightforward. Then we'll have to trouble you." "It's no trouble, no trouble." Nangong Wu waved her hand. "Since I came to the D family, I've always been indebted to you for taking care of me. I can't do much, so I'm very happy to be able to help out a little. By the way, other than these explosives, I made a little toy myself. Maybe it will be helpful to the cultivators in our family." At this time, Di Beichen's magnetic and pleasant voice sounded. Hearing this voice, everyone turned their heads and looked at Di Beichen in confusion. "Young master, what did you do?" All the elders had curious looks on their faces, and their eyes were filled with deep satisfaction and joy. Now, facing this young master, they could only trust him from the bottom of their hearts. "What do you think of the formation I set up that day?" Di Beichen raised his eyebrows slightly, and a mysterious smile appeared on his unparalleled face. Everyone was stunned, and they thought of the formation Di Beichen used on the day when the Dark Sacred Assembly was established. It was because of that trap formation that blocked a group of cultivators, giving Di Beichen the opportunity to use the summoning technique. "You mean that trap formation?" Di Yujua's eyes lit up. Di Beichen nodded slightly. "The trap formation is very useful. If it can be used on a normal day, it will be of great help to cultivators. It's just that it's not easy to learn formations, and not every cultivator has talent in this area." Dijuju's face revealed a thoughtful look. It would be good if they could master the formation, but it was not realistic to let everyone learn it. After all, many people did not have enough energy. They did not have the time to study other things other than cultivation. Father, take a look at this. Look, Nangong of Nangongyu. Nangong Nong Nangong Diyujua took the jade. It was a very simple piece of jade. It didn't even have any carvings on it. It didn't look special at all. However, after sensing it carefully, Diyujua found that there was some special power in the jade. What's in this jade? Everyone looked at the ordinary jade curiously. They all understood that Bewitching must have his reasons for taking it out at this time. Bailey Hongzhuang also looked at Bewitching in confusion. In fact, she also noticed that Bewitching was busy fiddling with something when he was refining pills carefully. However, she didn't ask about it in detail because Bewitching wasn't just studying formations. He was also studying talisman arts. Chapter 6203. Could it be that you've engraved the formation into the jade? A thought flashed through her mind and Bailey Hongzhuang immediately guessed. She still remembered that Bewitching had told her before that the jade could carry the power of a cultivator. Just like how rune techniques also carried some special power in various runes. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bewitching's face suddenly revealed a smile. You're really smart. Everyone's eyes lit up. They were not unfamiliar with formations, but there weren't many formation masters. Only when constructing family formations or teleportation formations would they think of formation masters. But at the same time, no one dared to look down on formation masters, because a formation master could casually arrange a formation that could bring a lot of trouble. Cultivators of the same level would definitely not be a match for a formation master. Just like how Bewitching trapped so many cultivators with a trap formation. To do this, there were very few people who could do it except for formation masters. Recently, I've been studying formations and rune techniques. Runes are engraved with special runes to achieve a certain effect. Formations are completed through the arrangement of spatial nodes. I felt that there was some commonality between the two, so I tried my own idea. I didn't expect it to be successful. Bewitching's lips slightly raised. After a smile appeared on his handsome face, he became even more charming. His pair of black eyes were as charming as black diamonds. His wife was so good at so many methods. As her husband, how could he not know anything? Therefore, during this period of time, he also seriously studied formations and rune techniques. The reason for such progress was, on one hand, because of the books left by He Shinjun. The contents of the books were very precious and gave him a very deep understanding. On the other hand, the several seniors in the abandoned immortal forest saw that he was interested in these things and gave him a few words of advice. Although it was just a few simple words, it often made him feel enlightened. He could clearly think through the problems that he didn't understand before. Not only that, they also encouraged him to innovate. It was rare for Senior Yu to tell him so earnestly that since these things were created by cultivators, why couldn't they create something else? As long as it was theoretically possible, there was a possibility of success. He felt that these words gave him a lot of inspiration, so after this idea appeared in his mind, he began to study it. However, studying it was not an easy thing. He spent a lot of time and energy. He didn't even know how much jade was wasted. But the moment he succeeded, he felt an unprecedented satisfaction. After this success, he felt that he had some different understanding of formations and rune techniques. So you're saying that there's an array formation inside this jade stone? Diyujua asked. Bewitching nodded slightly. Father, you can try to activate it. Diyujua looked at the jade stone in his hand and sent a wisp of mental energy into it. Immediately after, an invisible barrier appeared in front of them, directly enveloping the few elders. The few elders stretched out their hands to feel it. Sure enough, this was a simple trapping array. After testing it with their strength, they found that the trapping array was able to withstand a lot of power. Chapter 6204. However, I believe that with some more time, the power of this array will increase. Bewitching's gaze landed on the trap array. His lips curled into a smile, showing his confidence. Practice makes perfect. As long as he tried more, the effect would continue to increase. Yujia looked at Bewitching in amazement. He never thought that his son would become so multi-talented. Not only did he learn the art of arrays, he also learned the art of runes. Most importantly, he was able to combine the two together to create something like this. The power of this trap array is not weak. If it's used to escape or chase someone, it's excellent. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with satisfaction. Beichen, you're very qualified to be the young master. Grandfather, you're too kind. Beichen chuckled. Good lad. Lin Xian patted Beichen's shoulder. His face was glowing with confidence. With these explosives and arrays, the younger generation of cultivators will have more means to protect themselves. I believe that our family will become better and better in the future. Don't forget that our Lin family has a share too. Lin Wenlan said. Don't worry. How could I forget about you? Lin Xian rolled his eyes. After so many years, old Lin's stingy personality had not changed at all. Lin Wenlan looked at Lin Xian with disdain. Old man, you're the one who eats everything for yourself. Nonsense. Seeing that the two people who were so dignified just a moment ago had returned to their normal selves, the laughter in the meeting hall became even louder. The news of the Di family destroying the Jun family and the Xiao family quickly spread throughout the upper realm. No one was surprised by this news. This battle had long been within everyone's expectations. However, many people originally thought that the Di family would be the ones to lose. They never thought that after going around in circles, the Di family would rise so powerfully. Abandoned Immortal Forest. After the problems with the Jun family and the Xiao family were resolved, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' lives returned to normal. Everyone spent their days cultivating in the abandoned Immortal Forest. Under the guidance of the seniors, everyone's strength increased rapidly. The several seniors did not teach them any martial arts or powerful moves, but it was these very simple cultivation methods that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could feel the beauty of. They vaguely understood the meaning behind the seniors' words. What they pursued was not super powerful moves, but to turn every move they used on a daily basis into the strongest move. Returning to one's natural state was probably referring to this realm. Everyone had noticed this when they fought with Zhongli Mu. This was because Zhongli Mu didn't use any special moves. In fact, it looked like he was just using some simple punches and kicks. However, when they were fighting, everyone felt that his every move was very difficult to deal with. That valiant strength was enough to make cultivators of the same level unable to block it. His speed was also astonishing. Regardless of whether it was the strength of his palms, arms, or legs, Zhongli Mu was practically invincible under the guidance of the seniors. Towards Zhongli Mu's valiant performance, everyone was not discouraged at all. Instead, they felt that there was more to strive for. Because as long as they continued to cultivate like this, they would also reach Zhongli Mu's level in the future. Everyone has improved a lot recently. The gap between us and Zhongli Mu has narrowed a little. Chapter 6205. Isn't that so? Shangguan Yingying suddenly snickered. Yesterday, I heard from Senior Zhongli and Grandma Hua that Zhongli Mu has been cultivating even harder recently. I'm afraid he's feeling the pressure of us catching up. No wonder I feel that Senior Zhongli's attitude towards us has improved a lot recently. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered. Among all of them, Senior Zhongli was undoubtedly the coldest. Usually, other than when Zhongli Mu was around, he rarely spoke. However, it didn't mean that he didn't want to talk to them. It was just that he didn't like to talk because of his personality. During this period of time, they all noticed that Senior Zhongli had been teaching them more and more. At first, everyone was flattered. Now that they knew the reason, they completely understood. Clearly, Senior Zhongli wanted to help Zhongli Mu improve even more, so he gave them pointers. Because of the pressure, Zhongli Mu wouldn't slack off. Sure enough, grandfather's love is very deep. Beichen smiled faintly. Hearing that, everyone looked at each other. If Zhongli Mu knew about it, who knew how he would feel? Beichen, Xiao Xuanzi went to find Little Blossom again today? Bailey Hongzhuang looked around and didn't see Xiao Xuanzi. She immediately guessed that it was possible. How persistent was Xiao Xuanzi for Little Blossom? During this period of time, everyone had deeply experienced that no matter what, they would never leave the love that they had for each other. Should be. Master, Xiao Xuanzi follows Little Blossom every day and doesn't cultivate with us. Will his cultivation fall behind? Xiaobai was a little worried. Everyone had been working hard to cultivate. Only Xiao Xuanzi was busy chasing Little Blossom all day. It was fine if it was only for a short period of time. However, if it was for a long time, it would be inappropriate if his cultivation fell behind. Don't worry. Xiao Xuanzi's recent increase in strength isn't less than ours. Bewitching smiled faintly. Ah. Xiaobai was slightly stunned. It hadn't seen Xiao Xuanzi recently, so it wasn't clear about his situation. Xiren and the others also looked at Bewitching curiously. How could his strength increase by leaps and bounds when he didn't cultivate all day? It's because of Little Blossom. The calm voice didn't have any sympathy for Xiao Xuanzi. Bewitching's figure flashed and began cultivating again. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and couldn't help but chuckle. Little Blossom was stronger than Little Xuanzi. Xiao Xuanzi's shameless appearance and Little Blossom's temper was unavoidable. Teet. T. It. On this day, when Bewitching and the others were cultivating, suddenly, a series of footsteps came from the front. That teet. Teet. That? Could it be that someone is here? Shangguan Yingying's heart tightened. Zhongli Mu had mentioned before that there would be cultivators from the immortal region who would come here to look for able-bodied men. In the past, they had been very cautious. However, after cultivating here for so long, they had never met anyone. Gradually they felt relieved. Now they suddenly heard such unfamiliar footsteps. Could it be that something like this really happened? Chapter 6206. After coming to this conclusion, the group did not hesitate and quickly flew backwards. Even though everyone's strength had increased by quite a bit, there was still a large gap between them and cultivators from the immortal region. Once they met, they would be in danger. However, just as Bewitching and the others were retreating, 4 figures suddenly appeared behind them. Trying to run? The man in the lead looked at Bewitching and the others mockingly, as if he was looking at prey. I heard some movement earlier. I didn't think that there would be people here. Big brother, they don't look like people from the forsaken immortal forest. Could they be here to play? Nailan Shui looked back and forth between Bewitching, Bai Li Yanche, and Mo Yunjue. The 3 of them did not look like abandoned people from the forsaken immortal forest, regardless of their appearance, clothing, or aura. Most importantly, such a handsome man was extremely rare even in the immortal realms. Nailan Fu looked at Nailan Shui's coquettish expression and understood what she was thinking. Don't be silly, carefully sense their cultivation. They're only at the heavenly moon realm. They can't possibly be cultivators from the immortal region. As soon as he appeared, he had already checked the other party's cultivation base. After all, if they really were cultivators from the immortal region, it would not be good for them to offend them. Hearing this, Nailan Shui was stunned. After carefully sensing their cultivation, her expression turned ugly. They're indeed only at the heavenly moon realm. It seems that they really are from the forsaken immortal forest. Nailan Shui sighed, her eyes filled with regret. How great would it be if such a graceful and elegant man was someone from the immortal realm? However, their powers were simply too weak. On top of that, they were abandoned people. They would never be able to enter the immortal region in this lifetime. What a waste of her feelings. As Nailan Fu and the others were talking, another 4 figures appeared behind Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Nailan Fu, you're quite fast. You've actually surpassed us. The man smiled. From his casual attitude, one could tell that he was very familiar with Nailan Fu. How is it? Are these people the abandoned people? That's right. Nailan Fu's lips curled into a smile, revealing his white and neat teeth. Our harvest today is not bad. The hearts of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others sank. Although they did not know how strong these people were, they could tell that they were very strong from the way they spoke. If the strength of the heavenly moon realm was nothing in their eyes, then even if they took out all of their trump cards, they would still not be a match for them. What should we do? Shangguan Ying's expression was extremely ugly. She was really unhappy when she saw these guys casually talking about them, as if they were goods. However, she also understood that these people were very powerful. If she angered them now, it would not do her any good. The other party is stronger than us, and they have a lot of people. We won't have the upper hand if we fight back. Bewitching said solemnly. Let's calm down and see what the other party wants to do first. They had been cultivating here recently, but the place where Zhongli Mu occasionally cultivated was a certain distance away from here. Chapter 6207. Isn't there a shortage of people at the spirit-devouring mine recently? Many of the abandoned people have been captured, and now they are looking for people everywhere. Let's send these guys over, and I think we can exchange them for some resources. Nailan Fu was beaming with joy. They were resting today, so they wanted to come to the abandoned immortal forest to play. If they could find a few abandoned people and exchange them for some money, it would be a small profit. Just now, they were competing to see who could find the abandoned people. But they didn't expect that they would find them so smoothly and quickly. They really want to capture us to mine. Mo Yunjua's eyes were hazy. When he first met Zhongli Mu, he had mentioned this point. Although Zhongli Mu didn't say it in detail at that time, they vaguely understood that mining was not only hard work, but there seemed to be some unknown problems. In short, this was definitely a very bad job. Duan Rong seemed to see that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were thinking about their own ideas, and he couldn't help but say, "Don't think about it anymore. I advise you to follow us obediently, so that you can suffer less physical pain. Otherwise, once you are injured by us and go to the spirit-devouring mine, your situation will be worse." As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Rong's aura spread out directly, as if warning everyone. After feeling this tyrannical aura, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were shocked. This kind of cultivation was indeed much stronger than theirs. The strength of the cultivators in the immortal realm is indeed outrageous. Shangguan Yingying's face was pale. This kind of aura was obviously stronger than that of the Di family's patriarch. They were indeed no match for him. At this moment, everyone gave up the idea of resisting. If they were seriously injured here, it would be very difficult to escape later. Instead of this, it was better to go to the spirit-devouring mine first. After noticing the change in the expressions of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, Duan Rong and the others also showed satisfied smiles on their faces. Only people in good condition, who were sent to the spirit-devouring mine, could be sold for a good price, and they would have another income today. Let's go. Under Nailan Fu's lead, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others directly sat on their flying magic tool and flew out of the abandoned immortal forest. Seeing Nailan Fu's flying magic tool, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others carefully sized it up. They found that this flying magic tool was undoubtedly simpler and lighter than the ones in the upper realm, and its flying speed was faster. This was the first time they had seen people from the immortal realm. These people were truly heaven's favored children with a single glance. Nailan Shui sat on the flying magic tool, but she still couldn't help but look at Di. I didn't expect him to be an abandoned person. What a waste of his good-looking face. Di Beichun faintly glanced at Nailan Shui. His deep and handsome eyes were covered with frost. When Nailan Shui felt this gaze, she couldn't help but retract her gaze. Her expression was slightly awkward. Shui, why are you telling them all this? Nailan Fu raised his eyebrows. These fellows are quite smart. They knew that they were no match for us, so they didn't resist. You should know very well what happens to the people in the spirit-devouring mine. To put it bluntly, they are just coolies. These abandoned people shouldn't be alive in the first place. Now that we've asked them to help mine, we've given them a chance to show their value. Otherwise, it's meaningless for them to live. Duan Rong laughed. Chapter 6208. It's funny. The abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest never give up. Many of them want to enter the immortal region. They're really overestimating themselves. Nailan Fu shook his head. They don't even think about it. What right do they have to enter the immortal region with their status? Abandoned people are abandoned people. Even if they work hard to cultivate, their strength can't surpass the people of the immortal region. Duan Rong's eyes were full of pride. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't say anything. They just listened to Nalan Fu and the others talk. These fellows clearly thought that noble blood flowed in their bones, and they looked down on everyone other than the immortal region. That kind of pride that seemed to be innate really made one speechless. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly understood why Granny Hua and the others chose to live in the abandoned immortal forest. Although the cultivators in front of them were very strong, it was obvious that they were nothing in front of Granny Hua and the others. With these seniors' abilities, it was definitely not difficult to enter the immortal region. Perhaps they couldn't stand the high and mighty attitude of the cultivators of the immortal region. After all, this kind of attitude was really disgusting. Not long after, the flying magic tool landed steadily. All of a sudden, the noise outside became noisy. "All of you get out!" Nalan Fu shouted. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others slowly walked out of the flying magic tool, only to find that they were already near a black mine. The environment here was completely different from the abandoned immortal forest. Everywhere they looked was black. There was no green or vitality. These ores looked very hard, as if they had been polished. They were abnormally smooth. Spirit-devouring ores were probably referring to this place. Bailey Hongzhuang tried to use her mind power to touch the spirit-devouring ores, but found that it was very difficult to penetrate. This feeling was similar to the situation in the ancient battlefield, when she was looking for blood spirit stones. The ground was also very difficult to penetrate with her mind power. However, the resistance of the spirit-devouring ores was even greater than that of blood spirit stones. Bewitching and the others were also cautiously looking around. They were not too worried about the current environment. Although their strength was not a match for these people, it was not difficult for them to escape. "Brotherly." Duan Rong waved at a big man in front of him with great familiarity. The burly man's figure was extremely sturdy. His entire body was filled with muscles. His skin was dark and his face was rough. It was obvious that he was tanned, because he had been guarding the spirit-devouring ore here. "Young Master Duan, what brings you here today?" "Brotherly, these are the abandoned people we caught from the abandoned immortal forest. How much can you sell them for?" Hearing this, Li Wei was slightly stunned. His gaze immediately fell on Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Looking at the bearing of these people, he thought they were friends of Duan Rong and others, but he didn't expect them to be the abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. "Really?" Li Wei was stunned. "Young Master Duan, the abandoned people you caught are different from the ones you usually see." "Haha, I thought so too when I first saw it." Duan Rong chuckled. "Big brotherly, these abandoned people have become smarter. I don't know where they bought their supplies from. If it weren't for their low cultivation, I would have thought that they were from the immortal region." Li Wei carefully checked the cultivation of Bewitching and the others. Only then did he relax. "I didn't expect there to be such a thing. No wonder these abandoned people have become more and more difficult to find recently." Chapter 6209. Duan Rong chuckled. "Although these guys aren't very strong, they're still strong. I believe they can work here for a while." "No problem." Li Wei nodded. "Since you brought them here, the price will naturally not be low." Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Li Wei and Duan Rong had walked to the side. Li Wei even took out some spirit stones and handed them to Duan Rong. After seeing the blood-red spirit stone, Bailey Hongzhuang recognized at a glance that it was the blood spirit stone that they had obtained before. The ancient battlefield was indeed from the immortal region. These blood spirit stones were the spirit stones used by the cultivators of the immortal region. After receiving the payment, Duan Rong smiled and said, "Brotherly, we'll take our leave first. If you find any abandoned people in the future, remember to bring them to me. I definitely won't treat you unfairly. Don't worry." After Duan Rong left, Li Wei looked at Bewitching and the others and said, "You guys go over there and get your tools. From now on, you'll be mining here. Hand in at least 3 spirit-devouring stones every day. Otherwise, you'll end up like them." Looking in the direction that Li Wei was pointing at, everyone saw a tragic scene. Smack! Long whips ruthlessly lashed the bodies of several cultivators. They seemed to have been mining here all year round. They were skinny and their bodies were covered in wounds. After a few whips, they were drenched in blood. You can't even hand in 3 spirit-devouring stones a day, you bunch of trash. Useless things. If you can't dig it out, then die. I'll beat you to death. The roars were mixed with pleas for mercy, causing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to frown. These cultivators must have come from the abandoned immortal forest, but they were captured by the people of the immortal region to mine here. From then on, they had no freedom and had to stay here all day. These bastards. Ling are cursed. Based on this, it could be seen that the people of the immortal region did not treat the cultivators of the abandoned immortal forest as humans. Fang Qing, these people will follow you. Tell them what you have to do every day. Li Wei waved his hand and summoned a young cultivator. The man looked to be in his 20s. Compared to those cultivators who were beaten up, he looked much better. Brotherly, don't worry. I will teach them well. Do your best. After Li Wei left, Fang Qing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Her eyes were filled with curiosity, but after noticing the surroundings, she did not say anything. She only said, "Follow me." After receiving the bamboo baskets and shovels, they followed Li Wei into the mine. When there was no one around, Li Wei said, "You don't look like abandoned people. Are you from the Crossing Immortal Domain?" Crossing Immortal Domain. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others heard about this place from the third person. You know about the Crossing Immortal Domain? Bewitching asked tentatively. Fang Qing nodded slightly. Actually, I came from the Crossing Immortal Domain. I think you guys look very similar. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. If it was a normal ascension, they should have come to the immortal region through the Crossing Immortal Domain. However, they did not ascend at all. They came to the abandoned immortal forest through the Chaos Ring. Brother Fang, why were you captured to mine after ascending to the Crossing Immortal Domain? Chapter 62:10. Hearing this, Fang Qing sighed. In the past, the Crossing Immortal Domain was the place where everyone ascended. If they could successfully ascend to the immortal domain, then they could be called immortals. However, ever since the spirit-devouring mine was discovered, the people of the immortal domain were unwilling to mine it themselves. However, they wanted the spirit-devouring stone, so they extended their claws to the abandoned immortal forest and the Crossing Immortal Domain. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally understood. When they asked Granny Hua about the matter earlier, Granny Hua only said a few words casually and did not explain it in detail, so they were not too clear. Now that Fang Qing said this, they understood a little. Originally, this spirit-devouring mine was mainly done by the abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. However, most of these abandoned people have been captured. They really can't find anyone to mine. So they thought of a way to find some people from the Crossing Immortal Domain. Speaking of which, it's really unlucky. We can only blame our bad luck for encountering this when we ascended. Fang Qing's face could not hide the gloominess. These days, I've been seeing the abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. It's rare to see people from the Crossing Immortal Domain, so I said a few more words. Don't take offense. Big Brother Fang, we still have to thank you for introducing this situation. If you didn't tell us, we really wouldn't know what was going on, Wen Xiren said. Originally, they were also a little curious as to why Fang Qing was so warm and familiar. It was only at this moment that they completely understood. It was probably because she had stayed in the spirit-devouring mine for a while, but did not even have a familiar face. So she could not help but open her mouth when she met them. In short, it's bad luck to be caught in this spirit-devouring mine. Fang Qing secretly spat. We can't stay in this place for long. Big Brother Fang, what do you mean? Di Beichen's eyes revealed a trace of doubt. He vaguely felt that this place was very strange, but he could not feel where the problem was for the time being. The spirit-devouring stone is a kind of spirit stone that is very helpful in increasing spiritual power. The price is very high, but this spirit-devouring stone comes from the spirit-devouring mine. This spirit-devouring mine is different from the spirit-devouring stone. There are many benefits. This is a place of torture. If he wanted to dig out the spirit-devouring stone, he could only use his mental power to penetrate the ore. However, this spirit-devouring stone was very difficult to penetrate, so he could only see a little distance. Not only that, but the spirit-devouring ore will also continuously deplete one's spiritual energy. Feng Qing raised her eyebrows and subconsciously looked outside. You should have seen the cultivators who were beaten up earlier, right? They have stayed in the spirit-devouring mine for a long time, and their spirits are low. The possibility of digging up spirit-devouring stones again is very small. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed slightly. If the spirit-devouring ore will constantly eat away at a cultivator's spiritual power, then after a long time, will the cultivator's spiritual power be completely eaten away? Of course. Feng Qing nodded, a trace of disgust in her eyes. This is the reason why the spirit-devouring mine has always lacked people. Those fellows in the immortal realm don't treat us as humans at all. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others fell silent. They could roughly guess what would happen to the cultivators who had lost their mental strength. The so-called spirit-devouring stones were exchanged with these people's lives. Everyone, let's start mining first. If we can't complete the goal every day, we'll be punished. Chapter 62:11. According to Feng Qing's introduction, the location of the spirit-devouring stone was very scattered, so everyone could only use their mental strength to investigate. After finding the spirit-devouring stone with their mental strength, they used a shovel to dig it up. These shovels were also special. The spirit-devouring stone was very hard. Using other weapons to dig it would be very slow. After using this shovel, although the speed was not fast, it was at least a little faster than other weapons. In the end, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others found a quieter place and began to try to dig. Everyone used their mental strength to sense the situation in the spirit-devouring stone. Their mental strength penetrated the spirit-devouring stone with difficulty to observe the existence of the spirit-devouring stone. In the process of searching, they also found that their mental strength seemed to be absorbed by something. Although it was very small, they could still detect it if they observed carefully. This spirit-devouring stone is too strange. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. She did not have the slightest good impression of the black spirit-devouring stone in front of her. This spirit-devouring stone can help cultivators improve their mental strength, but it is constantly eating away at the mental strength of the miners. Could it be that the spirit-devouring stone is absorbing it? Bewitching frowned slightly. This kind of feeding and reverse feeding state really made people feel complicated. Big Brother Feng said that the impact of mining in a short period of time is not great. Let's complete today's goal first, and see what this spirit-devouring stone looks like. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. Although they were in the spirit-devouring stone, and not the real immortal domain, this place was already very close to the immortal domain. When I become stronger, I must find that Nalan Fu and say that he looks down on us. When my strength surpasses him, let's see if he can still say such words. When Xiren's face was filled with anger, recalling the condescending look of Nalan Fu, and the others made him very unhappy. Hearing this, a cold look flashed across everyone's eyes. As for these people, they would definitely meet again in the future. The distribution of these spirit-devouring stones is very scattered. Let's split up and search. Bewitching looked around and said slowly. Everyone nodded. According to Feng Qing's introduction, most of the cultivators in the spirit-devouring mine were abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. Although they were filled with anger towards the steward, they did not have any hostility towards the people who also came to mine. Because they were all in the same boat, they were already miserable when they came here, so they naturally wouldn't make things difficult for each other. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but sigh. The abandoned people in the abandoned immortal forest didn't do anything wrong. They were only treated like this because they weren't from the immortal region. The situation in the crossing celestial region wasn't much better. It seemed like the celestial region was much crueler than the upper realm. At this moment, everyone completely understood why Shuyu had returned to the upper realm after going to the crossing immortal region. In the upper realm, He was the #1 expert that everyone respected. However, after going to the crossing immortal domain, not only did he not have any advantage, he might even be captured to mine. Between the two, if it was anyone else, they would probably choose to stay in the crossing immortal region. However, Fang Qing's conversation with them was really too short. There were still many things that she couldn't ask. She could only wait for everyone to get familiar with each other before asking properly. After searching for a while, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes suddenly lit up because she found a spirit-devouring stone in the spirit-devouring mine underground. Chapter 62:12. After Xiaohei saw that there was no one else around, she also revealed herself and began to help Bailey Hongzhuang search and mine. When the shovel dug into the spirit-devouring ore, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood why the number of spirit-devouring ores that everyone found every day was so limited. It was because this spirit-devouring ore was simply too hard. Even with a special shovel, it was abnormally strenuous to dig it up. At this moment, all elemental powers seemed to have lost their effect. The only thing that was useful was pure power. The immortal region is indeed the immortal region. Even mining is not something that ordinary people can do. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips twitched. In any case, she was a cultivator of the heavenly moon realm, but she never thought that mining would be so difficult. If it was a cultivator with a weaker cultivation, the shovel might not even be able to pierce into the ground. Master, leave this kind of hard work to me. Xiaohei took up the heavy responsibility in a timely manner. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiaohei with a smile and said, "Then I'll leave it to you. I'll go look for other spirit-devouring ores." "No problem." Xiaohei patted her chest and promised. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to search for the spirit-devouring ores in the surroundings. After searching, she found that the situation was just as Fang Qing had said. The spirit-devouring ores were too scattered. Even if she found one, it was only a single one. To find 3 spirit-devouring ores in a day, it did not seem like a lot, but it would take a lot of time. Fortunately, my mental power has always been paying attention to improving. The range of my observation is not very small. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed faintly. When she found the 3 spirit-devouring ores, the sky was already dark. Looking at the black fist-sized spirit-devouring ores in her hand, she could sense the energy fluctuations contained in them. This kind of energy fluctuation was different from the pure vitality in the spirit ores. It was a completely different kind of energy. Even if it was just a slight touch of mental power, Bailey Hongzhuang could feel that her mental power was being nourished. He had never experienced such a feeling before. It was no wonder that everyone wanted to obtain such a good item. "I'll look for other spirit-devouring stones." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. This thing was indeed a treasure. If mining here would cause their spiritual power to continuously regress, then if they were to use the spirit-devouring stone to nourish their spiritual power while mining, would it be able to offset it? When this thought emerged, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't stop herself. She had to give it a try and see if it had such an effect. Not long after, Bewitching arrived at Bailey Hongzhuang's side. "Wife, how's your search going?" "I'm digging for the 4th spirit-devouring stone." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her head when she heard the voice. Her beautiful face was filled with a bright smile. She was indeed more beautiful than a flower. Looking at that smile full of healing power, Bewitching's mood unconsciously became better. His wife was really optimistic. She could still maintain such a good mood in such an environment. It was really admirable. "How's your harvest?" Bewitching smiled faintly. "I found 5 spirit-devouring stones." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. "You're very fast. It's not easy to find these spirit-devouring stones. It took me so much time to find the 4th one. I was lucky to find 2 spirit-devouring stones together." Chapter 62:13. Soon, Mo Yunjue and the others returned one after another. Shangguan Yingying had a bitter face. "This spirit-devouring mine is too complicated. I've only dug out 2 spirit-devouring stones after searching for so long." "It's okay. I have an extra one here for you." Mo Yunjue took out a spirit-devouring stone and handed it to Shangguan Yingying. Seeing this, Shangguan Yingying took the spirit-devouring stone and said in shame, "I've dragged you guys down. You might just be unlucky. The place you found today has fewer spirit-devouring stones." Mo Yunjue's voice was as emotionless as ever, but the comfort in his words washed away the chill and revealed a trace of warmth. Shangguan Yingying looked at Mo Yunjue with a gentle gaze. She knew that Mo Yunjue was actually cold on the surface, but not cold on the heart. "It's getting late. Let's go back," Bailey Hongzhuang said. She noticed that some people had already dug out the spirit-devouring stone and returned. They wanted to meet Fang Qing earlier, so that they could get more information from him. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walked out of the mine, Fang Qing was already waiting for them. After looking at the harvest of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, Fang Qing heaved a sigh of relief. She immediately collected everyone's basket and handed it to Li Wei. However, when Fang Qing handed the spirit-devouring stone to Li Wei, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Fang Qing had secretly added an extra spirit-devouring stone. Li Wei quietly accepted the spirit-devouring stone and smiled at Fang Qing. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood. No wonder Li Wei's attitude towards Fang Qing was different from the others. It turned out that there was such a relationship between them. Sure enough, no matter when, buying people's hearts was an important method. Fang Qing walked over from Li Wei's side with a smile on her face. Then she said to everyone, "Follow me. I'll bring you to the place where you'll stay tonight." Hearing this, everyone followed behind Fang Qing and walked inside. "You guys did well today. You completed the mission on the first day. Many people don't understand the situation at all when they come here for the first time, or they don't care about it at all, so they are always beaten very badly." A trace of gloom flashed across Fang Qing's eyes, as if she had recalled some unpleasant memories. "This is all thanks to Brother Fang's advice," said Bewitching. "Usually, I don't bother to say much when I meet other people. It's just that it's rare to meet someone from the crossing celestial domain. We're all in the same boat, so I said a few words. In short, since you're already here, you should be mentally prepared. Unless you can leave this place, you will end up like those people sooner or later." A trace of sadness appeared on Fang Qing's face. Even though Li Wei and the others usually treated him well, he knew very well that it was just a relationship of use. Other than not being punished like the others, there was nothing he could do to change the situation. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and could hear the helplessness in Fang Qing's words. "Big Brother Fang, have you heard of a person called Shuyu?" Bailey Hongzhuang saw that Fang Qing seemed to have a lot of things that no one could say, so she asked her own question. "How do you know Shuyu?" Fang Qing was a little surprised. She put away her original disappointment, and a thick curiosity appeared on her face. Everyone's eyes lit up. It seemed that they had not asked the wrong person. Fang Qing really knew Shuyu. "To be honest, we came from the same place as Senior Shuyu, so we've heard some things about him." Chapter 62:14. Looking at the nervousness and curiosity on Fang Qing's face, Bewitching nodded. He went back. Fang Qing's expression suddenly became extremely complicated. In the end, there was a hint of relief. That guy is not only bold, but also very lucky. He actually succeeded in going back. "Brother Fang, can you tell us about the situation at that time?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. "Since you know Shuyu, didn't he tell you?" Fang Qing was a little puzzled. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. "Although we know Senior Shuyu, we don't know him very well. We only heard some of his deeds." "I see." Fang Qing understood. "Back then, we were all in the crossing immortal domain. Actually, after we arrived at the crossing immortal domain, as long as we could successfully ascend, we could become a true immortal. However, the immortal domain closed the entrance to the crossing immortal domain, so we stayed in the crossing immortal domain. During that time, all of us were thinking about how to successfully reach the immortal domain, because the cultivation resources in the crossing immortal domain were not enough, and there was a mysterious force suppressing us. Perhaps it was because one had to pay a certain price to become an immortal, and this price also had a time limit. If one did not succeed in the stipulated time, their cultivation would regress. Because of this pressure, All of us were thinking of ways. However, other than the entrance, it was too difficult to reach the immortal domain from the crossing immortal domain. Many cultivators tried to rush over directly, but in the end, they all lost their lives. At that time, we were all in despair. Shuyu was a very smart person. After he realized that he could not successfully ascend, he thought about how to go back. I remember that he spent a lot of time researching how to go back. In the end, one day, he broke through the manager's guard and disappeared. Fang Qing's gaze was distant. Her thoughts had returned to the painful and confused memories of the past. At that time, was Senior Shuyu the only one who broke through? Mo Yunjua asked. They had only seen Shuyu once, but they did not expect such a thing to happen. At that time, there were 3 other people who broke through with Shuyu. However, the 3 of them were not as lucky as Shuyu. The 3 of them were caught and died, while Shuyu disappeared. From then on, everyone gave up on the idea of going back. We all subconsciously believed that Shuyu was already dead, but we didn't expect that he actually succeeded. The corners of Fang Qing's lips curled up into a smile. If I had known earlier, I would have given it a try. Unlike now, I don't even have the chance to give it a try. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. Under such circumstances, they could not comfort Fang Qing. The spirit-devouring mine was indeed a place that made people despair. I'm afraid that Shuyu will never come back to the crossing immortal domain again. However, he shouldn't have done that. He knew that the crossing immortal domain is such a place, yet he didn't tell the junior about it. Fang Qing sighed faintly and patted Bewitching and Mo Yunjua's shoulders. Those who can come to the crossing immortal domain are all heaven's favored ones from their previous planes. I thought that I would have a better future after I ascended. Who would have thought that I would end up in such a situation? If I had known earlier, I would have stayed there peacefully. At least I would have lived a comfortable life. Big brother Fang, haven't you ever thought of running away? Suddenly Bewitching's voice rang out. Chapter 62:15. Bewitching, you can't say such words in front of others. If you're not careful, you might lose your life, Fang Qing said nervously. Bewitching's lips curled up slightly. Brother Fang, we believe in you. Hearing this, Fang Qing was slightly stunned. Then, she smiled in relief, and her expression softened. I was wondering why I felt a sense of familiarity when I saw you guys. It seems that we really hit it off. Looking at Fang Qing's appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang keenly noticed that the former's gaze seemed to have changed. If there was still a trace of wariness in the trust before, then this trace of wariness gradually dissipated. It's very difficult to leave this place. I advise you not to have this idea for the time being. The spirit-devouring mine is not far from the immortal realm. With our situation, it's impossible to enter the immortal realm. The cultivators of the immortal realm all have their own identity cards. If they don't have an identity card, even if they pretend to be in, they will be discovered. At that time, their fate will be even worse. Other than that, the other side is the abandoned immortal forest. If we want to run, the only path is the abandoned immortal forest. However, we are not familiar with the abandoned immortal forest at all, and we don't know the situation inside. It's said that the cultivators in the abandoned immortal forest are very repulsive to the cultivators outside. Even if we go to the abandoned immortal forest, our days won't be easy. We can only live in that abandoned place for the rest of our lives. Fang Qing's expression was gloomy, and there was a hint of bitterness in his voice. I really didn't expect that I would end up in such a situation. Fate is really unpredictable. Everyone fell silent. In fact, they had always wanted to enter the immortal realm one day. However, it was so difficult to enter the immortal realm. It was also very difficult for them to complete it. You guys must be tired from digging for the whole day. Don't think too much. Since you're already here, stay here first. There won't be any problems for a short period of time. Fang Qing left after leaving this sentence. That thoughtful look revealed his mood. Clearly, the news of Shu Yu's successful return had stimulated him quite a bit. Inside the house, the living environment was obviously extremely poor. Everyone shared a room. However, after their observation, they found that sharing a room was already very good treatment. The living environment of the others were even worse than theirs. Thinking about it, this was also what Feng Qing had fought for them. Speaking of which, Feng Qing's friendliness came out of nowhere, but no one doubted it. Some malice came for no reason, and sometimes some kindness came for no reason. In the next few days, they also understood why Feng Qing was so kind to them. This was because he was the only one in the entire spirit-devouring mine who came from the crossing immortal domain. The others came from the abandoned immortal forest. Therefore, he was the only one left behind. If he hadn't maintained a good relationship with Li Wei, he would have been in the most difficult situation. Now that they had appeared, Feng Qing felt a little more comforted. At least she was no longer alone. When Zhongli Mu went to look for Bewitching and the others after his training, he found that they were all gone. He was a little puzzled. Could it be that something happened at home, so they left without saying a word? However, after Lil Xuanzi returned, he realized that something was amiss. Chapter 62-16. Hearing Zhongli Mu's words, the expressions of Granny Hua and the others changed slightly, and a complicated look flashed across their eyes. Seeing the change in everyone's expression, Xiao Xuanzi became even more anxious. Why aren't you saying anything? Where is that place? That's the direction of the immortal domain, Zhongli Mu said. Xiao Xuanzi was slightly stunned. With the current situation of his master and the others, it was impossible for them to take the initiative to go to the immortal domain. Therefore, there was only one reason why they left, and that was that they must have been captured. It seems that Hong Zhuang and the others might have been captured to mine. Granny Hua sighed. Recently, there have been people coming to capture people to mine. I'm afraid that this time, they just happened to encounter it. Granny Hua, what should we do now? Zhongli Mu's face revealed a worried expression. During this period of time, they had been paying attention to this point, but they did not expect that they would really encounter it. They should be in the spirit-devouring mine now, but you don't have to worry too much. Bewitching and the others are all smart people. Even if they are captured, they won't suffer a big loss. Yu Hong was relatively calm. Although the cultivation of Bewitching and the others was still very far away from the cultivators of the immortal domain, they were all very smart. In a situation where they could not win, they would not fight head-on. In comparison, Zhongli Mu was more worrying in this aspect. This kid was too simple, and did not understand the twists and turns of the outside world. Then we'll go and save them now, Xiao Xuanzi hurriedly said. He felt a wave of regret in his heart. If only he did not go to find Xiao Hua today. Granny Hua thought for a moment, but before she could speak, Zhongli Xiaoran's voice rang out. Since they were captured, it's also fate. There's no need to worry for the time being. Let's see if they can come back on their own. Hearing this, Zhongli Mu's expression changed, and he asked anxiously, Grandpa, didn't you say that the situation in the spirit-devouring mine is very dangerous? Now that Big Brother D and the others have been captured, how can we sit back and do nothing? That old man Zhongli is right. We've been giving pointers to these kids for a while now. Although they went out earlier than we expected, it doesn't mean that we can't deal with it. Let's wait for the time being. Hua Shukong said faintly. Old woman, the abilities you've given to Hong Zhuang these days aren't bad either. What do you think? Granny Hua raised her eyebrows, and a trace of pride appeared in her eyes. The disciple that I have taught is naturally not bad. It's just that the time I have taught him is still a little short. Since that's the case, let's take a look at the adaptability of these little fellows. Seeing that the seniors had no intention of making a move, Zhongli Mu and Xiao Xuanzi couldn't help but look at each other. This situation was completely different from what they had imagined. Xiao Xuanzi's heart was filled with gloominess, but he couldn't say anything in front of these seniors. His heart immediately became even more gloomy. After the four seniors left, Xiao Xuanzi could not help but ask, Zhongli Mu, will my master and the others be in danger? I don't know either. Zhongli Mu frowned. I heard that the spirit-devouring mine is an extremely dangerous place. Previously, many cultivators in the abandoned immortal forest lost their lives there. That's why everyone hates the spirit-devouring mine to the bone. As soon as he said that, Xiao Xuanzi immediately became even more nervous. Then this can't go on. I have to go find them. Chapter 62:17. Zheng Limu felt a little helpless. The reason why he told his grandfather and the rest about this was so that they could help. He did not expect his grandfather and the rest to be so calm, as if they did not care about this at all. Then are we just going to wait here? Xiao Xuanzi was annoyed. His cultivation had indeed increased recently, but compared to the cultivators in the immortal region, the gap was still too big. Even his master was taken away. What more him? Xiao Xuanzi, don't worry. We can go take a look around the spirit-devouring mine. But we must be careful not to be caught by others. Zheng Limu's eyes flashed with confidence. I believe in my grandfather and the rest's foresight. The reason why they are not worried is not because they don't care, but because they believe in Big Brother D and the rest's ability. There was a fundamental difference between the two. He believed that since Grandma Hua and the rest were so sure, then everyone would definitely be able to return safely. All right then. Spirit-devouring mine. The next morning, everyone was awakened by the loud sound of a gong. Everyone, get up and go mining. If you don't get up now, you'll have to taste my whip. Hurry up, if you continue to dawdle, I'll whip you to death. The group of cultivators quickly walked out of the house under the manager's roar. No one dared to slow down, because once they slowed down, they could be whipped at any time. The whip did not taste good. A casual whip could split a person's skin and flesh. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest stood out among the group of skinny miners. Not only did they have to work hard every day to mine, but they also had to eat poorly. Fortunately, because they had to prepare good food for the seniors, they brought a lot of good food with them. Speaking of which, it was strange. They thought that the people here would take their Qingquan bags immediately, but they realized that Li Wei and the rest did not have that thought at all. However, they later understood that the cultivators in the abandoned immortal forest were just poor people in the eyes of Li Wei and the rest. They did not have anything useful at all. When they first came to the spirit-devouring mine, they were still interested in checking the Qingquan bags. After realizing that there was nothing useful, they did not bother about it anymore. It was just a waste of time. Holding the bamboo basket and shovel, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest walked into the mine once again. Compared to yesterday's confusion, everyone seemed much more familiar today. The speed of finding the spirit-devouring stone was very slow, but everyone was in good condition. Bailey Hongzhuang spent more than half a day to find 3 spirit-devouring stones. As for the rest of the time, she began to look for her own devouring spirit stone. This thing was so precious. It was said that every piece of devouring spirit stone was an extremely precious item in the immortal domain. This price was also completely explosive. Now that they were in the mine, they naturally prepared some for themselves. Although the process of searching would wear and tear her spiritual power to a certain extent, Bailey Hongzhuang also discovered that the continuous searching could also improve her spiritual power to a certain extent. This situation was similar to the improvement of mental strength. There was a certain effect, but the mental strength consumed by the spirit devouring, or was more than the mental strength gained. As time went on, everyone's mental strength would only get worse and worse. Chapter 62:18. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. Once this thought appeared in her mind, it could no longer dissipate. Bewitching and the others were also working hard to find the spirit-devouring stone. After last night's research, the spirit-devouring stone did indeed have a lot of benefits. There were many uses for mental strength. Although they usually didn't pay much attention to it, the use of mental strength was everywhere, whether it was in a fight or other situations. Cultivators could improve their cultivation through cultivation, but it was very difficult to improve their mental strength. It was because of this that the cultivators in the immortal domain needed the spirit-devouring stone so much. After staying in the spirit-devouring stone for a few days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also obtained some spirit-devouring stones. Although Li Wei and the others didn't care about what was in their Qingquan bag, they were very careful about the spirit-devouring stone. Every day, After handing over the spirit-devouring stone, everyone had to walk past a device. This device would check if the cultivator had hidden any spirit-devouring stones. In these few days, they had seen cultivators who were caught. Naturally, they were beaten up and even lost their lives. Fortunately, everyone put the spirit-devouring stone into the chaos ring, which allowed them to avoid being checked. At night, after Shangguan Ying absorbed the energy of the spirit-devouring stone, she found that her mental strength had increased a little compared to before. Immediately, a happy expression appeared on her face. Fortunately, we have the chaos ring. Otherwise, without the spirit-devouring stone, our situation would have gotten worse. Mo Yunjua nodded. The spirit-devouring stone is indeed a good thing. No wonder the mining continues, even though we have to pay such a high price. It's a pity that the place where the ores are located is too scattered. It would be great if we could dig a hole where the ores are gathered together. Shangguan Ying started to daydream. The effect of these spirit-devouring stones was too good. It was a pity that they could only harvest 4 or 5 spirit-devouring stones in a day. Apart from the portion they needed to hand over, there was not much left. There's no other way. Bailey Hongzhuang spread her hands. This is the situation with the spirit-devouring stone. However, I feel that if our mental strength becomes stronger, the range of our detection will be wider, and the speed of our search will be faster. That's right. I just need some time. Di Beichen smiled faintly. The life of mining in the eyes of others was not very difficult for them. When Xiren's expression was relaxed, and the corners of his lips curled into a smile like a spring breeze. Previously, I thought that being caught here was a very tragic thing, but now I feel that it's not so bad. Even though this was the outskirts of the immortal domain, the elemental energy in the air, and the laws of heaven and earth were stronger than in the abandoned immortal forest. Even though we don't have as much time to cultivate as before, the speed of our improvement hasn't slowed down by much. Coupled with the improvement of our mental strength, I think it's pretty good. Following Xiren's words, everyone smiled and nodded. This was also what they were thinking. Originally, after being captured, they were thinking about how to leave this place as soon as possible. But now they weren't in a hurry to go back. The next day, when Di Beichen and the others started mining again, they unexpectedly saw 2 figures. Beichen, from now on, the 2 of them will follow you to mine. Fang Qing patted Di Beichen's shoulder and said with a smile. Chapter 62:19. I don't have to worry about you. Fang Qing's expression was relaxed. He thought that Di Beichen and the others would fall into deep despair after coming here. After all, from a proud son of heaven to a miner, such a psychological gap was definitely not something that ordinary people could accept. However, the performance of Di Beichen and the others completely exceeded his expectations. They didn't seem to feel that this job was hard at all, nor did they complain too much. They just completed the task on time every day. It was precisely because of their emotions that Fang Qing felt that his mood had become a little more cheerful. Not to mention him, even Li Wei's attitude towards Di Beichen and the others was not as harsh as his attitude towards the others. It was not for anything else, but because these people handed over the spirit-devouring stones that they should hand over every day. After Fang Qing left, Di Beichen let the 2 newcomers take the bamboo basket and shovel before walking into the mine together. Because their performance during this period of time had been good, the 3rd mine had become their exclusive mine. It was not until they reached the depths of the mine that Di Beichen said, Zhongli Mu Xiao Xuanzi, why are you guys here too? Didn't we ask Xiao He and Xiao Bai to tell you guys before? We don't have any problems here, don't worry. Bailey Hongzhuang also frowned. It was fine if it was Xiao Xuanzi, but Zhongli Mu was the treasure of Senior Zhongli and the others. Now that he had come to the spirit-devouring mine, if Senior Zhongli knew about it, he would be very angry. We know. Xiao Xuanzi nodded. I've always wanted to meet up with you guys. Coincidentally, Zhongli Mu also said that he was coming, so we came together. Although it was not a good thing to come to the spirit-devouring mine, he just wanted to be with everyone, even if it was hard work here. Zhongli Mu, have you told Senior Zhongli and the others about you coming here? Bewitching asked with concern. Zhongli Mu shook his head slightly, a hearty smile on his face. Don't worry, my grandfather and the others won't worry. Grandfather and the others said earlier that they believe that you definitely have the ability to leave the spirit-devouring mine. What does it matter if I come to find you? When the time comes, we'll leave together. Moreover, I'm also a little curious about this spirit-devouring mine. I don't know what kind of place it is, so I just happened to come and see it. Seeing Zhongli Mu's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but look at each other. But this kind of character of T. You didn't go find Xiaohua? Hearing this, Xiao Xuanzi said with a serious face. Usually, I can chase after my wife, but at this time, master is more important. Chapter 62:20. In the abandoned immortal forest. Granny Hua looked at the spirit-devouring mine not far away with a playful smile on her face. Old man Zhongli, didn't you say that there's nothing to worry about? Why are you here today? Hua Shukong and Yu Hong couldn't help but chuckle. Ever since Di Beichen and the rest were taken away, they couldn't help but worry even though they believed that Beichen and the rest could handle everything. After all, these little guys had been with them for so long and were their disciples. They had feelings for them. Most importantly, without these little guys around, they had to eat the same food as before. It was a helpless feeling. Therefore, they secretly came to the spirit-devouring mine to find out more about Beichen and the rest. They thought that they were the only ones who came, but who would have thought that they would find each other? At that time, Hua Yu Hong and Hua Shukong looked at each other. After a short moment of shock, the three of them couldn't help but chuckle. It seemed that the three of them came here with the same idea. At that time, Zhongli Xiaoran noticed that the three of them came back sneakily, and even mocked them. Now that Mu-Er had gone to the spirit-devouring mine, Zhongli Xiaoran couldn't sit still anymore. I'm here to see what you guys are looking at all the time, Zhongli Xiaoran said casually. Hearing that, Hua Shukong and the rest couldn't help but laugh. They didn't believe him at all. Old man Zhongli, what's the point of putting on airs every day? If you're worried about Mu-Er, just tell us. We won't laugh at you. Yu Hong raised his eyebrows and said. Zhongli Xiaoran glanced at him indifferently. I'm just wondering when this little brat will come back. Without him, there's no one to cook. Once he said that, Hua, and the rest were stunned. They had neglected this problem. After Hong Zhuang and the rest left, although Mu-Er's cooking skills were not as good as Hong Zhuang's, at least there was someone to cook for them. Now that Mu-Er was gone, wouldn't it mean that only the four of them were left to stare at each other? Judging from the situation, we should let them come back as soon as possible, Hua Shukong said seriously. Granny Hua nodded slightly. That's right. Let's see what kind of method these little fellows will find to come back. If they come back too late, this old lady will be starved to death. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not know that the four seniors were so worried about them. They only thought that the four seniors were extremely calm and confident in them. They were not worried that they would not be able to leave this place. Therefore, they were not in a hurry to leave at all. After all, they had nothing to lose by staying here. On the contrary, they could even increase their spiritual power. It could not be better. On this day, Fang Qing was invited into the house by everyone. Looking at the table full of delicious food, Fang Qing could not help but be stunned. Her eyes flashed with deep surprise. Where did you get so much food? Everyone knew how bad the spirit-devouring war's food was every day. He had already forgotten how long it had been since he last saw such a feast. Brother Fang, we put some food in our cosmos bags earlier. We were lucky that it was not confiscated, so. When Xiren smiled brightly, Fang Qing immediately understood. I was wondering why you guys looked so good. It turns out that you guys live so freely every day. Chapter 62:21. All of this is thanks to Brother Fang's care. So we wanted to come and show our filial piety to you today. Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. Fang Qing did not stand on ceremony and sat in front of the table. Actually, I didn't help you much. You're all smart people. Even if I'm not here, I believe you'll be able to do well. On the contrary, ever since you guys appeared, I feel that I have more to look forward to. Feng Qing laughed brightly. Come, brother Feng, let me toast you with this glass of wine. Haha, let's drink together. After 3 rounds of wine, everyone was slightly tipsy. Their faces were slightly red, but everyone's faces were brimming with smiles. Feng Qing then said slowly, I know that you guys should have your own way to absorb the power of the spirit-devouring stone, which is why you can maintain your current state. As soon as these words were said, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others immediately sobered up. They were not surprised by this. Even though they usually paid attention to disguising themselves, they understood that after a long time, they would not be able to disguise themselves even if they wanted to. Noticing the change in everyone's expressions, Feng Qing smiled and said, You don't have to be nervous. I don't have any ill intentions towards you. I just want to remind you that although the spirit-devouring stone can help us offset it, your methods are also very clever and have not been discovered by the steward. However, as time passes, it is inevitable that there will be a day when we will be exposed. Therefore, it is best to think of a way to leave this place. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. It seemed that Feng Qing had been thinking about how to leave the spirit-devouring mine. Initially, when they heard Feng Qing's words, they were still a little worried. However, at this moment, they also understood that Feng Qing really did not treat them as outsiders. In other words, Feng Qing was actually here to find allies. If they wanted to leave this place by relying on their own strength, it would be too difficult. They would definitely need to find allies for this plan to work. Brother Feng, have you found a feasible way recently? Bewitching said slowly. Feng Qing looked carefully at Bewitching and the others and said, Are you trustworthy? Brother Feng, since you are telling us this, doesn't that mean you believe us? Bewitching smiled. His wise eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Feng Qing looked at Bewitching calmly and seriously. The atmosphere seemed to freeze at this moment. After a while, Feng Qing suddenly smiled and nodded. That's right, I believe you. Speaking of which, it's quite interesting. When I met you guys, I hit it off very well. I always feel that you guys are the most trustworthy people. Feng Qing's honest expression was mixed with a hint of complexity. I don't know why, but I always feel that you guys seem to have your own confidence and are not afraid of the situation here at all. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were also silent. Indeed, the situation of the spirit devouring was not that bad for them. From the beginning to the end, they had treated this place as a kind of experience, as a way to understand the immortal realm more. However, Feng Qing's thoughts were completely different from theirs. This was a place filled with despair. If he stayed here, he could lose his life at any time. Therefore, he was very anxious and only hoped to leave this place as soon as possible. Facing such a Feng Qing, they could not help but feel a little moved. Even if it was only because of the care they had taken these days, they could not turn a blind eye to it. Chapter 62-22. Facing Feng Qing's sincere and serious look, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not turn a blind eye to it. If Feng Qing had schemed against them during this process, they could still ignore it. However, from the beginning to the end, Feng Qing had always treated them as trustworthy people and took care of them. She had not even said a word for so many days. Until today, he did not know if it was because he was drunk, or because he had not drunk for a long time that he had let down all his defenses. Just from his conflicted look, it could be seen that Feng Qing had been very conflicted about this matter during this period of time. It was only today that she made up her mind. Brother Feng, since you came to us for help, do you already have a countermeasure in mind? There was a hint of seriousness in Bewitching's eyes. They had not been in the spirit-devouring mine for a long time, so there were many things that they did not know enough about. At least, according to the situation they had learned so far, the entire spirit-devouring mine could be said to be heavily guarded. No matter which way they went, it would be very difficult to escape. The abandoned people in the abandoned immortal forest tried their best to leave almost every day. Even though they had only been here for a short period of time, they had already seen teams escape. However, the result was not good. They were directly caught by Li Wei and the others. Needless to say, the outcome was unavoidable. They were even punished. If it were not for the fact that they still needed to mine, they would have lost their lives. Therefore, without sufficient preparation, they absolutely could not rashly escape. Otherwise, perhaps they would be able to leave this place unscathed. But Fang Qing would be in trouble. I did make some preparations. Fang Qing nodded, her expression a little more solemn. During this period of time, I have seriously understood the situation here. Every once in a while, Li Wei and the others needed to report the recent situation of the spirit-devouring mine to their leader. This day was equivalent to their summary and settlement day. At this time, the stewards would leave. Almost every day on this day, they would drink to their heart's content and be in a good mood. Of course, when they leave, they will arrange for more people to guard the spirit-devouring mine to prevent any problems from happening when they are not around. Fang Qing said again. Mo Yunjua's eyes turned solemn. Are you planning to take advantage of this day to escape? Fang Qing nodded slightly. That's right. Today is a very relaxing day for Li Wei and the other stewards. Although they have arranged for many people to keep watch, after my observation during this period of time, I discovered that there is actually a blind spot. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard this. It seemed that Fang Qing had indeed spent a lot of effort to successfully leave this place during this period of time. Ordinary people would be exhausted if they could complete their daily tasks here. At this time, he had to take advantage of the time to observe if there was any way to leave this place. He would have to spend a lot of energy. I can take you to the mine tomorrow, but you must be careful not to be discovered by others. Fang Qing's eyes were filled with nervousness and worry. This is the only feasible method so far. If it is discovered, it will be even more difficult to leave. Everyone nodded. Big Brother Fang, don't worry. We understand. Brother Fang, where do you plan to go after leaving the spirit-devouring mine? Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly asked. Earlier, Fang Qing had already told them that if they didn't have an identity token, they would be discovered even if they entered the celestial domain, and it was no different from a dead end. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.